Quickly before we bring in Tim Couch, David Njoku, how can the Browns help unlock their highly paid tight end?
Yeah, talk briefly about it.
When Mike asked the question originally, it was, do they need to make a point of getting David Njoku involved? Yeah. And I almost never think that makes sense with any player, let alone a guy like David Njoku. Like if you have Tyreek Hill or you have Jamar Chase or Justin Jefferson, an absolute superstar player, you want to get those guys involved because they're elite talents. But Amari Cooper is the Browns' best player on offense. The other guys are all in the same boat, to me, of either unproven or average. And so I'm never going to make a point. Why would I make a point of getting David Njoku involved over Elijah Moore or over Donovan Peoples-Jones or anybody else? Now, I think naturally he would be a target in the red zone, and he really hasn't been this year. He doesn't have any touchdowns through 3 games. But I'm not going to force it, guys. That doesn't make any sense.
Well, if you want to rely on the numbers, Njoku's best month in his career has been October. He's got more catches and more yards in October than any other month in the games on October 1st. And he has his best numbers against the Ravens in terms of targets and yards.
Interesting.
So, I mean, obviously it's a divisional team. He plays them more than anybody.
Right.
But that's his top team in yardage and targets. So
you're saying he's going to have a big game this week?
Is by his standards,
Well, Leroy made a great point earlier this week. He said part of the reason that, I think it was Leroy, he said part of the
Mary
reason.
Kay. I know
was it Mary Kay?
Yeah, Mary Kay.
It was Mary Kay. You're right. Part of the reason that his production is down is because he's been asked to stay in and block as that chipper a lot more. And that, of course, keeps him from running routes, and that, of course, keeps him from catching passes.
If he was to get spot shadowed like Harrison Bryant, it seems like they got the roles remixed. Like Harrison Bryant running sneaks, he getting, like this dude is getting 5 wide touches and everything. I really think when you talk about offensively, right, offense and how productive you are a function of opportunity and scheme. Now, if you said we're going 5 wide, why would I look at David Njoku? I'd rather throw the ball to Amari Cooper and Elijah Moore. And then when you go with your bigger packages, he's the best blocking tight end you have. So if you're gonna say, okay, we got 2 tight end packages, we're gonna put one of you in a route. Well, I'm gonna put Harrison Bryant in the route because I need to keep you in to help with the tackles.
But if David Njoku were that good a pass catcher, they would. Travis Kelce might be a better blocker than whoever their second tight end is.
But that's Kelce.
Okay. So T.J. Hawkinson.
Okay.
Evan Engram. He might be the best blocker on the Jags. I'm still sending him out.
Well, it's not.
So I think that's an excuse.
I'm not saying I'm not saying that he's the second coming of Ozzie Newsome. I'm not saying that. Yeah. What I am saying though is there are times when you see those other guys and you see them spread out. Like I'm going with 2 receivers, but I'm standing up and spreading out my tight end so I could get a mismatch on a linebacker. You don't really see that. And plus, you would think that he's a red zone target. We don't use him in the red zone.
Right, they haven't. But here's the bottom line, guys. The reality is there's not that many tight ends that make a huge impact in terms of catching passes.
Which is why they gave him the contract they did. It's a supply and demand issue where there's just not a lot. If you didn't like the contract and you wanted to move on from him, what are you going to do? Austin Hooper couldn't run more than 3 yards without falling down.
Hooper was a
He's
disaster.
a perfectly
Harrison Bryant's a career backup.
NFL tight end.
Yeah.
He's a decent player. We thought with the fact that he was drafted in the first round, the fact that he has great athletic ability, and the fact that they paid him at the time a lot of money, maybe we all thought that there was more there. But I just think we got to realize, hey, he's going to have a couple of games here and there where he puts up good numbers. And most of the time it's going to be what it's been. 3 catches, 30, 40 yards.
Look, season 7, he is what he is at this point.
You sound like
it's not terrible.
You sound like the guys, and I agree with you. You sound like the guys who do fantasy. When you talk about tight ends, there's 3 game changers.
Yeah.
And the rest of the guys are going to have 1 or 2 games here or there where they blow up a little bit. Other than that, they're perfectly serviceable.
2 years ago, he had the incredible catch at L.A. against the Chargers, catch and run touchdown. Last year, it was the Bucs to send the game to overtime. Incredible catch in the end zone. He's good for 2 of those a year.
Yeah.
1, 2 of
he
those
also dropped the ball in the end zone against New
the
Orleans
Saints
that led to a loss.
He's a useful player. He's not useless, but he's not great.
I think that because of the amount of money he was paid at the time, now since it's been eclipsed by a number of guys.
Right.
But when they made him the 3rd highest paid tight end, I think that automatically raised the expectations from fans that, okay, well, let's get that.
And it never happened.
Performance.
And he is what he is. He's a decent player, solid player. Nothing wrong with him. He's a starting tight end in the league. There's certainly not 32 tight ends better than him. I don't even know if there's 10 better than him. I know he's 17th right now in yards. Yeah. But I don't even think he's probably somewhere around that 10th best tight end.
But
that's fine.
I will say at the owners' meetings in March, I was talking to another team just about the Browns and business and Deshaun fully guaranteed contract and everything. And the first name that got brought up, well, not just Deshaun, the Njoku contract.
Yeah.
So other teams saw it and rolled their eyes at it.
It was. But look, the Bears did basically the same thing with Cole Kmet this offseason.
Well,
we don't want to be better than Njoku.
But we don't want to be compared to the Bears.
Right, I hear you.
Let's be compared to the Chiefs.
When it comes to the money is just it's not monopoly money, but it is. Like it's that person is never going to be worth what it is. Like the people at the top of the food chain in sports, like say for instance LeBron. You can't quantify how much LeBron is supposed to get.
He's underpaid.
By a lot,
He has been his whole career.
He's underpaid.
Underpaid. So
if he were playing soccer in Europe, what would he be? And he was the equivalent
$100
player.
million a year.
Probably more than that, right?
I had a conversation with him one time about that. About is he worth $100 million a year? Of course, he thinks he is. Yeah.
Well, I do
of course.
too.
100% is.
Yeah.
Especially in basketball, where one great player makes such a difference.
Yeah.